Hello, friends. One of the things we are committed to is preventing external advertisements with products you don't care about being part of this show. And in order to do that, the only thing we need is your like and subscription. If you do that, we can focus on giving you content that for free can categorically change your careers. So if you could do me a huge favor, it would be to like, subscribe, and share to this. And in doing so, we can make sure that the only things we hear here are things that are actually going to change the substance of your experience every day. Good deal. Thank you, guys. Cody, I'm excited for today.
So am I. I'm amped.
You printed out a thing that I could think of a lot of people that they'd be very happy to have this. Mm-hmm. I'm excited for you to talk to us about this here piece of paper.
Great.
What are we doing?
There's two things here that we'll cover today. Let's start with where this came from. One of the things that I imagine in the fitness space, either coaches, trainers, professionals, business owners miss is clearly identifying the points of failure in their journey. So by points of failure, I mean, in this context, it is where am I losing clients and why? We're going to talk about retention today because it's going to cost us somewhere between 2 and 5x to acquire a new client what it costs us to retain a client.
How do you calculate that?
Based on your cost of acquisition, right? So at the flagship, we have like a $730.
I see. So you just measure the cost of acquisition against the cost of delivering goods.
Yes.
I see.
Yep. So knowing that, it's way more beneficial for the business to do an excellent job at retaining the clients that they have. To start, we need to figure out where are we losing them. If we can figure out where, we can start to ask the questions around why. So when I did this for the flagship, we identified 2 critical points of failure. The first one is between month 0 and month 3. Of all of the clients that we've ever lost at the flagship, we've lost 51% of the clients in the first 3 months. That translates to they're not renewing, at least in the system that we had, they're not renewing after the first 12 sessions. So from a system side, we built in some new things. Now our clients actually commit to the entirety of the initial recommendation. They don't commit to purchasing sessions 12 at a time. If the recommendation is 30, 40, 50, that's what they commit to. And then we build a payment plan based off of that. So that's an easy system thing that we've added in from the organization. But it doesn't always, that by itself is not going to solve why do we lose clients at the 3-month mark. Does that make sense?
Sure. Well, I just imagine there are more factors than just a payment plan.
Yes. So month 0 to 3, 51%. The next point is that we've lost between month 4, 5, and 6. We lose the next 24% of all clients, which means 75% of the clients that we've ever lost at Active Life at the flagship, we lose in the first 6 months. If clients are with us for over a year, we have something like less than 8% attrition.
Wow.
Over a year. So we can start to reverse engineer, and I can start to reverse engineer as the operations lead and the person running the business there. What systems, like what are we missing here? And there's a couple of things which we're going to talk about today that we will make sure get shared in the show notes so that you can have these and start to implement these.
You're giving away this magical piece of paper.
I'm giving away 2 magical pieces of paper.
You're too good, Cody. You're too good.
You know what? Not all heroes wear capes, Larry.
Respect.
Appreciate that. Okay, so the first thing we know to be true is we need our clients to start to identify early wins. For us, the early wins system will happen on day 14 and day 30. Because often what happens, they make the purchasing decision, they're very excited about it, they start to get in, they go through the assessing phase, and we identify all of the areas of opportunity. We figure out where the limitations are. Sometimes that doesn't always feel good if the first 2 weeks are just figuring out where your edges are and where you're deficient. So we want to create an early win. And it's scheduled for on day 14. That can be plus or minus 2 days based on when their sessions actually occur. But this is a task that now goes into the professional's calendar. It goes into the client's True Coach or their programming account so that the professional is reminded this is something that I need to do. And this is not a sit down, have a deep, long conversation. The early win system is very easy, and there's 3 components to it. Step number 1 is we want to identify a tangible win for the first 14 days. What's the tangible win here? This is something that we should be able to measure, whether it be a strength improvement, a flexibility improvement. It could be a sensation of pain and irritation decreasing, whether in frequency or overall. Like the number it was a 7 every single day, and now it's a 6. That's a win. We want to highlight for that for the client. So that's the tangible win. Identify that. Okay. So in this example, hey, when we started working together, every single day, your knee was a 7 out of 10. We've had a couple of days over the last week where it was only a 6. That's huge progress in this short amount of time. Really nice job. The second component is what we call an identity-based win. So this is where you need to know your clients. When they go through the consultative process, what are the things that they say are important to them? Gaining confidence. If we think about identity-based wins, right? This is not the measurable, tangible thing. That is the gaining confidence, the capacity, I want to be a better grandparent. I want to be a better mother. I want to hold better boundaries for myself because that allows me to show up for everybody else in the way that I want to show up. So we want to give them the identity-based win. Hey, one of the things, Larry, that you said when we started was really important to you was establishing consistency. For the last 2 weeks, you've shown up to every single session. You've done the work outside of the session. You are becoming the person that you said you wanted to become. Great job with that. That's an identity-based win.
Yeah, it feels so different than hearing, I made, my shoulder flexion improved by 2 inches. Both of them feel good, but the second one feels there's more depth. There's more completeness. There's a different intensity to the quality of what that feels like.
People come to us in this profession because they want to be a different version of themselves. They want to be a better version of themselves. Nobody shows up and is like, you know what? 6 months from now, I want to be exactly who I am today. We want to help remind them that they're doing the thing and they're laying the foundation of the work now that is going to reward in the future. That's the identity piece.
Yeah.
Highlight for them because they're probably not seeing it for themselves.
Yeah.
They're in it day to day. So we provide them with the identity-based win. The third thing that we want to do in this early win is we want to create for them, we want to create the future casting. Over the next 6 to 8 weeks, here's what I expect we also accomplish. Here's what we can expect to do in the next 6 weeks. So we go back to the tangible win. You've had a couple of days where it was a 6 out of 7. I'm expecting over the next 8 weeks of us working together, we're going to continue to see a decrease. And you might even have some days where it surprises you that your knee isn't bothering you in the way that it was. That's what I expect to happen over the next 8 weeks. So in a conversational format, this is very quick. It should take you 3 to 5 minutes to do. You can do it in between sets and reps. You can do it during the session. We don't need to stop and pause for this. This is hey, Larry, I just wanted to highlight for you. Over the last couple of weeks of us working together, when you started, your knee was a 7 out of 10 all the time. And you've had a couple of days where it was only a 6. That's great improvement over the first month. Or over the first couple of weeks, rather. The other thing that I noticed is you said it was really important to you to start to be the type of person who felt more consistent and made this a priority. You haven't rescheduled a session. You've shown up to everyone. Any homework that we've given you, you've accomplished. I'm so proud of you for that. Keep that shit up.
Nice.
Finally, over the next 6 weeks, based on the progress we've seen so far, we can expect to see those sensations of pain in your knee and irritation decrease. You might even have a couple of days where it surprises you that it feels that good. You excited for that?
For sure.
Me too. We're back into the session.
So that's what a full acknowledgement of early wins might look like, hitting those 3 criteria. Nice.
And it'll happen at 2 points. It's the early win system because we want to do it early. It'll happen around day 14 and it'll happen around day 30. So day 30 for us is the first actual check-in with a client. That check-in is where we're sitting down, we're reviewing the KPI document. We're actually being like, here's where we were, here's where we are, here's what comes next. We're going to do that early win again during that. So have the information. Do the work ahead of time, the 5 minutes before the session, to make sure that you have these and you're not trying to come up with them on the fly. And so you're going to do that at 2 points in their first 30 days. You're providing them with the wins, the tangible, the identity-based, and then the future casting.
Hey, it's Dr. Sean here reminding you that if you are a coach who wants to fill the gap neglected by fitness and healthcare, and you want to make a career doing it, we might be able to help you. Head to the show notes. There's a link there. You're going to click that link to download the ALP curriculum. That's the stuff that we teach to coaches over the course of 13 months to turn them into world-class professionals who never have to worry about missing a paycheck again, doing work they love to do. Go ahead and check that out, and I'll see you on the other side. Let's get you back to the show.
What does this do for the client? Why does this impact retention so strongly?
If we think about the fact that people buy emotionally and then they justify it logically. So when somebody enrolls with us, they're making an emotional purchasing decision. They're going to, after that, start to look for all of the evidence on whether this was a good decision or a bad decision. This is where they justify it logically. And what can happen is if we don't highlight that for them and they go through the first assessing phase where all they're getting is the data, the feedback, they're still having some irritation, they're identifying the edges, the limitations, they can start to create evidence for themselves that this isn't actually working for me. All I'm identifying is other areas that I didn't know about, that I wasn't as strong or as capable or as whatever I wanted to be. So this kind of sucks. This feels bad. We know by working with clients, we're thinking long, low horizon. Like this, when we enroll clients, it's going to take us somewhere between 6 months and 18 months, most likely, to help them resolve and accomplish the goals that they came to us with. If they're thinking in the first month that everything I've learned so far and the irritation that I'm having hasn't seen a dramatic or drastic improvement, they could be like, this is just another thing that isn't working for me.
Right. So it sounds like this is a double-prong approach of not only setting very clear expectations before they begin, which I know that we work very hard to do, but it's also about helping them realize all the juice they're actually squeezing along the way so that they're not just waiting for something very far down the road that they wish were culminating today, but that they could actually appreciate the process of that culmination.
I imagine we sometimes believe that because we're doing such a good job of tracking the progress for the client, they're also seeing that. I know that that's not true. And I heard a conversation on the floor last week that reaffirmed that for me.
What was that conversation?
The conversation was between professional and client where they were going through this and they're like, they did a step down, no irritation in the knee. And the professional goes, last week, that was a 3 out of 10 for you. Now it's nothing. And the client goes, really? It was a 3 out of 10 then? They're not going to remember in the same way that you are going. So it's reaffirming that for them. It's highlighting, it's bringing that back into their awareness, training that reticular activating system to find the wins and find the success.
Understood.
So that's the first document that we will link here. That gets us through the first 30 days. And for anybody listening who's looking at their client experience, there's a book that I'm rereading. We won't dive into it today, but maybe we'll do a future episode on it. That is really valuable. It's called Never Lose a Customer Again. And I read that when we opened the flagship, and I'm recently revisiting it. And it does a really great job of going through the first 100 days, the first 100 days of a client journey. And he has a bunch of data and metrics about how most businesses lose most of their clients, something like 80% within the first 100 days. And it's dependent on whatever the sector is, right? Is it a bank? Is it a car wash?
Sure.
But the first 100 days are critical. So this gets us to day 30. You're going to do your check-in. Maybe we do another episode in the future on exactly what the check-in process looks like so that people can have that. But what's going to happen next is the client's going to get to somewhere around day 45. And around day 45, they're going to have this internal dialogue around the commitment that they've made. Clients quit emotionally before they quit transactionally. So if you have a client and the initial prescription is 12 sessions, 2 times a week, it's going to take them about 6 weeks to go through those 12 sessions. If we wait to have a conversation like this until the 6th week, until their 12th session about renewal, recommitment, what can happen is they've already made the decision. They made the decision on session 8, 9, 10, and 11 that they weren't going to renew and they weren't going to stay working with you. Because again, the emotion that they had when they started has faded. Like the possibility, the potential, the hope has been met with evidence to the contrary that this is going to be, it's going to be a challenge to do. It might take longer than I wanted it to take. So we need to help them recommit and reconnect to why they wanted to do this in the first place. Because I think a lot of people lose that on the journey. We start off with a lot of energy and excitement and a deep, meaningful why. We get into the process and we start to go, fuck, is it really worth it to do all these things? So the recommitment conversation, we have it scheduled for, and this is up to the professional to decide when it's most appropriate, somewhere between day 30 and day 55. And it's a 10 to 15 minute conversation, either during the session, as in we're going to take time out of the session to do this, or it's adjacent to. You might decide that we're going to do our session and then we'll have a 15-minute conversation afterwards. There's 5 easy steps that we can go through for this recommitment conversation. Again, the purpose is a deep anchor here. I want to get them to reconnect to why. The first is we're setting a positive frame. The example is you've already built real momentum. Most people never even get this far. Let's zoom out for a second and make sure we're still aiming exactly where you want to go. 2, we're going to do the tangible and emotional win. In the first 2 months, you've achieved X, Y, and Z. More importantly, you've become the type of person that you wanted to become. Stronger, more confident, more capable. You had mentioned to me that you were able to pick up your grandkids and get on the floor and play with them, and you were really excited about that. Reconnect to the why is step number 3. So the nice thing about these 2 processes is some of the steps are very similar. So it's not a bunch of stuff that I now have to learn, right? Highlight tangible win, set the positive frame, connect emotionally or identity-based. Next, we're going to reconnect to the why. Hey, Larry, when we started this, you came here because you wanted to be a better partner. You wanted to be a better grandparent. You wanted to just feel better about yourself so that you could show up for everybody else in the way that you wanted to. Based on where you're at today, you're on track. This is only going to accelerate and get better for you. Step 4, we futurecast again. By sometime in the next 90 days, here's what I expect that you will be. Not, here's what I expect that you will do. I expect that you will be more confident, more capable. You will be more like the person that you told me you wanted to be when you showed up. The version of you already exists. You're creating them and revealing them inside of you right now. That's really cool. I'm really proud of you for that. Step 5 is we're reaffirming the commitment. So this is where we're getting them to actually say, yes, I am still in for this journey. I'm still down for this ride. I'm going to say simply, I'm excited to keep building with you. You in for that? And it's not a hard close. It's not like you still down to do this thing? It's, look, I'm so excited to keep building with you. You still in for that? It's a light affirmation, not a hard close. We expect a yes. Obviously, be a professional, be the coach, the mentor. If you notice any hesitation, that's an opportunity for a conversation.
Yep.
It then follows up around day 55, you're going to send them a light affirmation touch point, a text, an email, a brief in-person comment, simple, light affirming. Just a quick note, I'm proud of how consistently you've been showing up, Larry. Your future self will thank you for this season of effort. That's it. If we can do a really good job through those two systems, highlighting early wins and helping them reconnect to their why, our thesis is we're going to see improved retention through the first 100 days.
Strong stuff.
Thanks.
Nice job.
We're working on it.
What else should people know about this? Besides, use it.
Yeah. That's the big gap I think a lot of people run into as I lead more client experience labs. There's this assumption that I need to have this thing perfectly dialed in and tweaked, and I need to feel 1,000% confident in it before I can execute on it. And that's just not how it works.
Couldn't be further from the truth. There's if someone did 25% of this the right way, it's going to make a really big impact on their retention.
Mm-hmm. That's the goal.
Okay. Anything else you want to share?
Nothing else I want to share on this.
Where can people find this? Because these are systems that I know that people, big scale, small scale, will be happy to start using.
Mm-hmm. We will link this, Cleary. We will link this in the show notes.
Okay. Thanks, Cody.
Thanks, Larry.
I hope you enjoyed that episode of the Active Life podcast. If you did, please head to wherever you listen and leave us that 5-star rating. It really does go a long way. 5 stars goes a long way. Please leave them. If you're interested in working with us as a coach, remember, we help coaches from around the world build fulfilling careers, working with clients they're inspired to help so they never have to worry about being able to pay your bills again. No one's ever going to ask you if you're going to get a real job when you work with Active Life. All you have to do, head into the show notes, click the link that you find there, download our curriculum. That will give you a feel for what it is going to take for you to be successful. A team member of ours will reach out to you to find out if it's a fit for us to work together. Till the next show, turn pro.